Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review. And today from McFarlane Toys in their DC Multiverse line, we are featuring Scarecrow as he appears in Infinite Frontier. Alright, so if you are a fan of the Batman comic books, you'll remember some years ago when this version of Scarecrow was introduced. It was kind of around the time of the Joker War, about the same time period when they introduced characters like Ghostmaker, Miracle Molly, and Peacekeeper 01 Sean Mahoney. So this was a somewhat vital character during that time period. Scarecrow, much like he does, was messing around with Batman using his toxins. This is a very, very unique take on the character, as you can see here. It almost kind of has like an Asian influence to it. When I first saw this figure, my first thought was, this looks like something that would easily belong like maybe in a video game like Samurai Showdown, or like in an older anime such like Wind Ninja Chronicles. So I'm excited to check this out. On the back, we have a comic book illustration of Scarecrow here. It kind of surprises me because they're not really utilizing this design on the back art over here. And if you've read the comic books, there's numerous times when he's actually illustrated looking like this. So I don't know why they didn't pull, the actual artwork that represents this version of the character and not this one. Alright, so let's get this guy out and get started. I'm very curious about the posability of this character. Even though it looks like super detailed, and I love the costume with the overlapping layers and the poncho and the hat, I'm kind of wondering if any of that will get in the way of the character's posability. And you get the display stand and also the trading card. Alright, so first impressions of Scarecrow. Love the detail. There's such a lot of fine texturing throughout his costume that if you're a customizer, it seems like just the simple application of an ink wash would really, really accent and highlight all these, crazy patterns and textures that are going throughout the character's costume. The straw hat has a considerable amount of detail, almost like too much. But it looks fantastic. I love the sculpting on the hair. Alright, so very, very unique take on the character. It's almost very feminine in its design, especially with the proportions and the somewhat waifish figure, but it's kind of overlapped with all this multiple layers. Let's get a closer look. Yeah, beautiful detailing. I love the goggles with the orange lenses. Very striking design. Scarecrow stands in at about 7 3/4 inches. Here is a size comparison next to the older McFarlane designed Batman. As you can see, the older figure is slightly larger, bigger proportions also. The attention to detail on this is just simply amazing. The straw hat, just look at all the fine detail. Really well sculpted. A lot of sharper edges. It could be a little bit cleaner on the edges because you have some excess flash. But for the most part, it's forgivable. I think from a distance, it's not really going to matter. The hair is beautiful. I love how it's kind of flowing, and it's not. It's a little bit excessive, yes, but it's not like it's flowing too much. You know, exceeding the footprint of the character. You know, I think it's just right. The hair is a somewhat harder material. It's not as flexible as I'd like. The mask is really well done. You see the stitching along the face. The poncho, very clean design. I mean, it's cleanly sculpted, but very busy. This texture here, though, I think could use some work. I'm not sure if this is supposed to represent, like, branches. But compared to the rest of the texturing on the material, this looks kind of very bare. And the sculpting isn't as sharp either, because if you look towards the ends are kind of rounded off. It's not very pointy. Whereas, you know, ideally you'd want something as sharp as like the points on the hair. You know, this kind of looks a little bit odd. Some beautiful detailing with the hoses attached to like the needle fingers. You know, this is Scarecrow, so let me get this into focus. These hands with the long fingernails aren't actually fingernails. They're actually more like syringes. So he can inject his poison and toxin into his victims. The underlying material here is really well done. Beautiful texture, nice rich orange color. The frayed material towards the bottom I think could be a little bit sharper. It's kind of muddy and it's sculpting or molding. Underneath, here's the legs. Alright, so in terms of Scarecrow's articulation, the head rotates. The hoses here are pretty lengthy, so it does allow for an extended range of motion. The only thing you'll run into is that the hair pieces here, they kind of collide with the shoulders. So you're going to be met with some resistance as you try to rotate the head. The arms rotate. And it looks like they're on that ball-socketed butterfly joint on the inside. Double pinned, pinless. Oh no, they're not. They're actually pinned. You do see the pins on the elbows. They're double pinned. If there's an ab crunch, let me see. There's a cut mid-torso, so it does allow for some extended motion. But again, a little bit hindered by all this overlapping material. The legs could kick out, and since there is a slit on the side, you could get, the full range of motion going out. Double pinned knees right there, and ankle articulation and toe articulation. So this is a very solid figure overall. It's a very, very far departure from the traditional Scarecrow that kind of has like the burlap bag over his head, but I think it's cool. If you're unfamiliar with this design, I could see, a lot of people using this in their like figure photography as like a background character. For example, something like this would feel very much at home, like in a cyberpunk setting, because it looks kind of like embodies that like neo dystopian Asian feel. Like maybe this is something you might see like lurking in the shadows of like a very Blade Runner-esque or like Neo Tokyo kind of backdrop. Very haunting design. I think it's an amazing figure. For me, I think the only downside is the articulation. Even though all the points of articulation are present, like I said, there's so much material and overlapping material that it might get in the way of like trying to capture those poses that you might see in your head. But you know, it's like I said, this character is more of a lurker. It's something that like kind of just hides in the shadows. This isn't a character that's necessarily going to be like leaping off of buildings like Spider-Man. So for me, I think this figure, visually, it's a perfect 10, but, excuse me. But overall, with articulation, I'd probably give this an easy 8, solid 8. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So, until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. Alright, later.